progressive political commentator Bill Press joins us. We'll dig into the lay of the 2020 campaign landscape, and we'll discuss, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. He is the host of the podcast, The Bill Press Pod. He is in our nation's capital. Bill, more than 30 U.S. states are taking steps to ease social distancing. You think this is working?
I'm afraid it's too much too soon, Larry. Look, I'm as antsy as anybody to get out of that damn house, right? I mean, it's been 2 months, and at the same time, I think getting out too soon. I'm not ready to go out to some ball game or out to some concert or even out to some restaurant. And the idea that this thing is behind us, I think, is a little premature. There are 1.3 million cases in the United States, 80,000, almost 80,000 dead now. I think we need to see, let me put it this way. I want to agree with Donald Trump on one thing he said. The White House said, when you have 14 days with cases going down, then we ought to open up. Not one of those states that you mentioned, not one of them has met that criteria yet. So I think if they stuck to that, we'd feel a lot safer.
Now, the White House is saying anyone entering the West Wing has to wear a mask. Finally, it's a good idea.
It's about freaking time. Let me tell you, I go to the briefings, as you know, we've talked a lot about it. I haven't been to a briefing since March 13 because I saw then that was going to become a coronavirus hotspot. Larry, you've been in there many times. I have too. That's like being on a submarine in the West Wing. The rooms are so small. The corridors are so small and so close. There is no way you can self-distance in the West Wing. And I think they waited far too long to require everybody to wear a mask. And now what do you got? Stephen Miller's wife, the vice president's press secretary, has the coronavirus. The president's valet, the guy that brings him his Diet Pepsi and and serves him his meals in the Oval Office, has the coronavirus. Anthony Fauci and Robert Redfield, the head of the CDC, are self-quarantined. And Donald Trump and Mike Pence, who are also exposed, refused to quarantine and refused to wear a mask. So I'm afraid it's going to get worse. And I'll tell you, the reporters, I got a notice today, again, from the White House press corps, and they said, unless you absolutely have to be there, do not come to the White House. It's too dangerous.
What's your overall assessment of how Trump has handled this?
Badly, I think. The problem is he waited too long. We lost 2 months where we could have been doing some social distancing. He could have encouraged states to lock down. He didn't. So January, February were lost because he saw this as some political thing. Whatever. Blame it on China. Blame it on Obama. And I think we're suffering, and a lot of people have died because of that lost time. Number one. Number two, I think he made a mistake in not putting forth, I think there should have been a national plan for how every state would do their self-distancing, and a national plan to help every state get all the masks they needed, the ventilators they needed. Instead, as you know, what the president said was, hey, it's up to you, governors. Everybody kind of do their own thing, and it's up to you. It's not my job. You got to go buy the masks and all that kind of stuff. So I just think we lost didn't have the leadership from the White House that you should have in terms of a crisis.
Oh, we have top Trump economic advisors predicting dire forecasts about unemployment, saying it could surpass 20%. They also say that they're looking at an economic recovery in the second half of this year. Who's right?
Well, man, that's wishful thinking if I ever heard it. Look, I mean, I don't know how, Larry, I don't know how we get out of this. Look, we're going to recover. We've been through bad times before. Not as bad as this in our lifetime, but we're resilient and creative and a strong people. I know we're going to come out of it, but it's going to take a long time. And right now, get this: 20 million jobs were lost in April. There are 32, 33 million Americans out of a job right now. As you said, the unemployment rate is 15, expects to go to high as 20%. We haven't seen that since the Great Depression. It's not going to, I'm sorry, Steve Mnuchin, it is not going to turn around overnight. It's going to have to be a gradual recovery, and it will be, I believe.
Some on the right saying that you fellas, the Democrats, you don't want it to get better because you want it to be big trouble for the president in November. Can you believe that?
I don't believe it, and it's just simply not true. That's that's a typical blame somebody else. We're every day, the one thing I can do, Larry, living in Washington, I can get out of our house. We live on Capitol Hill, and I can go down to Washington Mall as far as I can for a long, nice walk, and it's no problem self-distancing because there's nobody else there. Right? On the whole Washington Mall today, I saw 4 people, right? I didn't get close to any of them. My point is, on the way back, there's a house, and in the window, it's got a big banner. And I see it every day, and it says, "We're all in this together." Nobody wants the economy to fail. Nobody wants more people to die. We're all in this together. So I think that's just nonsense.
Former President Obama, in a telephone conversation, called the situation chaotic. Is that a term you would use?
Oh, yeah. But you know what I think the president was talking about in that telephone call was the situation at the Department of Justice, where Attorney General Bill Barr dropped the charges against Michael Flynn, former National Security Advisor. Michael Flynn, who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI, admitted that he lied to the vice president, and Bill Barr said, "I don't think any crime was committed." Well, Larry, I think you and I were taught that lying to the FBI is a crime, right? Yeah,
I can't see the other side of this.
I don't either. And I think what Obama was saying is that this really does undermine our system of justice. And we know that Flynn, even though he fired him, Flynn was Trump's buddy, and that Bill Barr, it's pretty clear, was just doing a big favor for Donald Trump's buddy.
Do you think Joe Biden should figure out ways to get out more?
Yes.
Publicly, what do you do?
I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it. I think he's getting out online for local TV stations, but there seems to me there's got to be some way they can get him around more. There's another school of thought, Larry, on that, by the way. I agree he should get out more. I'm not changing my mind, but there are others who say, since Trump is making such a mess of everything, that the best thing to do is just to stay out of his way. When the other guy's screwing up so badly, you just shut up and let him do it. But I'd like to see more. I'd like to hear more of Joe Biden. I'll tell you, the latest that I've heard is in the Biden camp that they see now that if he succeeds, he's going to take over a country that's in as bad shape as it was when FDR became president, and that he is going to have to be an FDR kind of president and do big things, big time on the economy real fast to bring this country back.
Well, FDR had the New Deal. He put the government to work. He had people building things like stadiums and highways. And
Yep. And we have talked about infrastructure, right? That now's the time for it. Yeah. Get people to work rebuilding highways, bridges, water treatment plants, stadiums, parks.
Politico is now reporting that Senator Kamala Harris is in the lead to be Biden's running mate. I don't know how you know that, But what do you make of that?
Well, the guy who wrote that, Chris Catalogo, is a friend of mine. He's a good reporter. He talked to a lot of people around. He didn't talk to Biden. He talked to a lot of people around Biden. I thought that was a pretty good story. But remember, he also said in the same story that Elizabeth Warren is a close second. I think that Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and Amy Klobuchar are the three front runners. I think either one of them would be dynamite. But I also want to mention, to me, the sleeper candidate, if you will, is Susan Rice. You remember her, National Security Advisor under Obama. She was the ambassador to the UN, African American, really tough, and really knows government, knows the White House. And Obama worked closely with her in the Obama White House. So I wouldn't be surprised to see her. But Kamala Harris, look, she's our California senator. She's great, I think.
Yeah,
great.
but the only thing is Biden doesn't need California. He's going to win California.
Yeah, right.
So
You know,
from a
that's
state standpoint, she doesn't help.
people are torn about vice president. Remember, like when Bill Clinton picked Al Gore, another white guy from the South. You know, some people say you need somebody who can deliver a state, but that's not always the case. But hey, Barack Obama didn't pick Joe Biden because he could deliver Delaware. Delaware has three votes. So you're right.
Hey.
But Kamala Harris brings a lot of energy, you know, and I think she'd be dynamite.
Bill, thanks for your time as always.
Hey, Larry, we go back a long way. It's good to see you again.
We sure do. Bill Press.